What up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Black Dad, White Dad with Strong Dad and Chad. Excited. How y'all doing? How you doing, Chad?
I'm doing very well. This is gonna be an interesting show. Holy
Yeah,
cow! All
yeah,
right,
yeah, yeah.
what do you
So
have for us? I'm
I
kind of
came
I'm kind of
across a
scared. I'm not
video.
gonna lie.
I came across a video. I only read it and I heard like the first couple sentences, and I decided that we should watch it together. I didn't want to have any ideas or nothing. I just want us to see it, and I want you to react to it. We just together. Let's just do this. All right?
Hey, look, that's how I watch movies sometimes. I'm like, I don't want to see the trailer. I don't want to hear a
Yeah,
synopsis. I saw the teaser trailer. I'm good. I want to go
I'm
see
good.
this. Leave me alone. So
I'm
yeah,
good. I
let's.
saw a face. I
That's
saw a
right.
face and I heard some words and I said, "Oh, we got to respond to this."
All right, so here we go. We're gonna bring it up, and here goes.
Fellas, we done with the whole masculine provider male era. We're in our soft guy era, okay? Drizzle, drizzle. Listen, I don't know who need to hear this, but until that woman asks you to be her husband, you don't have to do husband-like things. Stop giving these women husband advantages and amenities, and you're still a boyfriend. Until that ring is on your finger, you shouldn't be doing anything. Period. Drizzle, drizzle. Like, y'all be so caught up on getting with Dusties and all that. You need to start going after their moms. See, I know a lot of y'all think that older women may not be that much attractive or whatever the case may be, but there's a lot of good looking older women. And I feel like you guys can deal with these older women who's going to take care of you and treat you like a king that you are. Drizzle, drizzle. Now, there's a point where as a man in your soft guy era, you shouldn't be pumping. Hey, listen, fellas, your soft guy era, you shouldn't be pumping your own gas. You shouldn't be cleaning out your car. You shouldn't be having to change your tires. You shouldn't be having to have to put air in your tires. You shouldn't have to mow the grass. That's all the responsibilities of your woman. The moment you become a husband, then things change. But until then, that woman should be taking care of everything, and you shouldn't be showing her no reason on why she should stick with you for the rest of her life, and in hopes that she makes you her husband. Drizzle, drizzle. You need to stop giving out so much to these women. Like, y'all giving up the dookie quick as hell, and y'all dropping it off, and these women are not appreciating it. I think you need to hold out. Even your soft guy era, I think you need to hold out. Even if you had sex with 100, 200 women, you need to hold out and make that woman wait until she shows you that she's capable and that she's loving enough for you to give your body to her. Because at the end of the day, it's all about us. It's all about us. We just want our equal rights as men. So, drizzle, drizzle.
Yo, man, I can't. I can't. What the hell did you do? Why did
I
you
don't know if
show
that's
me
real or
this?
not. You think that's real?
I mean, he's clearly doing the same thing that the guy did. You saw the post where the guy put like all his stuff about his bills. He's like, me and my bills are a package
Yeah,
deal or something like that. It was
yeah.
like cologne, $150 to $300, and all this stuff. Uh, uh,
Is this a real thing? Is
I
this
think
is it?
he's. I think what he's doing is he's doing the clown comparison to what some of these women do,
All
and
right.
I think that's what he's doing.
I
I
hope
don't
nobody
think he's for
believes
real.
that.
Yeah, I don't think he's for
There
real.
is
I
no
hope he's
such
not
thing
for
as a
real.
soft man era. Well, no, there is a such
I
thing.
mean, there
But
is.
you
We're
don't
trying
want
to end it.
you don't want to be a part of that.
Right, right. Oh goodness gracious! What are we
This is
gonna
why we do
do?
what we do to prevent the
Oh my
soft
god!
man era.
Oh my god! Oh, I was crying though. He said you don't have to change your tires. You don't
Yeah,
have to pump your gas, cut
you
the
don't gotta change your
grass.
tire. What? You don't pump your gas?
Oh man, I'm dying.
I'm gonna
Oh
tell you right
goodness.
now, if my daughter ever came home and said, Jamal, he doesn't pump his gas, he wants me to pump his gas. Jamal's done. Jamal's out.
Mm-hmm.
Jamal's out. Call up Peter. Call up Peter. I heard I
There
heard
you
Peter's
go.
got a job.
That's right. Oh my goodness. But look, so let's just for the sake of a little brief discussion, let's take this thing at face value.
Okay.
If you ever, or if my son ever comes to me and says some stuff like this, I'm slapping the brain out of his mouth. When I hit him so hard in the back of his head, brain's gonna come out of his mouth.
Yeah.
It's no, this is not okay. I get where some of this stuff comes from with some of these women. The thing is, I think all of what you're seeing is these, and actually was on with Wayne Dupree earlier this week. I don't know when that episode is going to drop, but
yeah,
we were talking about this stuff, and I basically we were talking about how there's like this false dichotomy, like with the Andrew Tates of the world, and even like some of the female influencers too. There's this false dichotomy of you either have to be this like frumpy, slumming, barefoot and pregnant, Handmaid's Tale, kind of whatever, like back to the Dark Ages,
right.
woman who, drag her by the hair. I heard somebody tell a joke one time. He said, the cavemen are smart. They figured out to drag the women by the hair because if you drag them by the feet,
get any dirt.
Yeah, that's right. But anyway, so there's that end of the dichotomy, and the other side of it is that, oh well, no, they just need to be like IG thoughts, and they need to be on trips, and they need to have people paying $1,000 a day for their pedicures and manicures and all this, like basically like everybody thinks that they deserve to be freaking Beyonce or some shit, and it's like, you're not Beyonce. And you don't know Jay-Z, so shut the hell up. Like, what are you talking about? So just like there's that false dichotomy, there's the man's side of that, which is that the soft guy era is a negative, right? So instead of being a simp, you got to be a pimp. And it's like, no,
right.
like the pimp isn't the. If you look at the world and all of the problems, all the outgrowths of everything that we have, all the mistakes that we have made as a human race, making other more egregious mistakes on the other end of the spectrum is not the answer to the problem. The answer to the problem is finding the center, which is where the real is, and men being real men who can be do their role appropriately, so that they can be what the women who, if they're doing their role completely, end up looking for. And then the more of us who are doing what we're supposed to do, and the more women that are doing what they're supposed to do, the more you're going to sort of change the marketplace. But all this other stuff is doing is it's just saying like, hey, look, prices are high. I'm going to go rob a Walgreens.
Right.
And that's not like that. That is not the answer to the problem.
Hot and cold.
It's not the answer.
Hot and cold.
Right.
You look, for the sake of believing that anybody out there, any man thinks that before you become a husband, you shouldn't do these things. Consider this. How good of a chooser, right, is this woman if she's picking a man who is displaying no qualities of leadership until they're wed? That is a big red flag. If it was your child and she's 25 and she just met a guy and he's done not a single thing to prove that he is worthy of being married to, of providing, of being inserted into your family, right? You owe it to yourself to make sure that she cuts him loose. So you need that woman should know that you're responsible, that you are ready to take lead in situations. You know what I'm saying? Hold that door open for her if that's the kind of woman she is, or even if she's not. You know what I'm saying? Just, you should be taking the lead no matter what. Even when it comes to paying for dates and things like that. These are, I just think that these should be non-negotiables for men. You do these things and you break through that barrier. You show that you're worthy, and she's going to do the same. And if she's not doing the same, then also cut her loose too. But there's no such thing as a soft man era if you really want to be, like a man for real, if
Right.
now there's the weak man era for sure, and we are in a time created by those men. So
yeah,
there's that. But yeah, I mean, that video was wild. That video was wild.
it's hilarious.
Anyway, why we are here.
Yeah.
Chad has some information for us. Well, not for us, but for those who are not self-employed, right? Those dads, men out there who are not self-employed, who want to take hold of their finances, want to take hold of their investing, and have a strategy to build a long-term future. So we're just going to turn it over to Chad and let him take it from here.
Yeah, well, so it's interesting that the video that we just watched actually kind of leads into this, I think, because in a way, some of what he's talking about, I think maybe he left it out, but like one of the things you should be doing is investing in your future and in your future family's future. If you don't already have a family, and if you do have a family, you should have already been investing for their future. And if you haven't, you need to start now. And so I have a few things that I want to get into. One of them is that, so I built this little spreadsheet this morning just to kind of shed some light on how something that's very simple that a lot of people are not taking advantage of can be displayed in very clear terms. Essentially, this is let me pull it back real quick so we can talk about what I'm talking about here for a second first. So if you are not self-employed, and I do have something actually for anybody who is investing independently of a 401k as well. So this is not just for the non-self-employed folks, but this first part is. So if you are working a job where you have an employer and they are paying you a salary or they're paying you hourly wages or anything like that, and there is any type of offer on the table for contribution matching to a retirement program, 401k or otherwise, you owe it to yourself, and you are really, really missing the boat if you don't take full advantage of that. If they're offering you, they match up to 2%, get at least 2% taken out of your check pre-tax and thrown into that thing. If they're offering 10%, match that as high as you can afford to. And I would recommend, even like if you think you can't afford it, find a way to afford it. Don't do certain things, put that money in that instead, because I'm going to show you a very simple way how. So like this, the model that I brought up is just assuming a $24,000 a year salary. So your monthly gross pay is $2,000. If you take 4% of that, if your employer matches up to 4%, if you take that 4% and you have that subtracted from your paycheck every month, that's $80 a month that's coming out pre-tax. But your employer is also putting $80 a month in. So your deposits every month into this program are going to be $160. And now if you have a normal modest growth rate of about 8% annually, which if you look at the course of the market over time, it's been that. Now, the other thing about investing in a 401k, you need to choose your portfolio, your ETFs or whatever that you are looking at appropriately.
Oh, you can choose. You can.
You can choose the mutual funds or whatever. A lot of times they'll have like a list of mutual funds that they actually that you can choose from. You don't have everything, but some, check with your employer and see, like they may have a wide variety that you can choose from, and then do your research, figure out what makes the most sense for you, what areas you think make the most sense for investing right now. And then a lot of times you can shift that as you go. And so like I have mine broken up to where I'm going into like 3 or 4 different mutual funds and a couple of bond funds and things like that. And then I have some other separate stuff that's individual stocks. But so what I wanted to show is, if you look at this spreadsheet, I know it's a little bit hard to read. That's why I've made the stuff on the side really bold. So at a $20,000 or $24,000 a year salary, you're putting up in year one, $960, and your employer is also putting up $960. So you're at that 8% return rate, you're getting $153 added to that just in growth, right? And then as that goes, like typically these things will be reinvested into the stocks. So you'll get like fractional shares as part of whatever that growth is. So as your growth continues, you're going to any dividends or anything like that. So as that growth continues, your balance is going to continue to accrue. So if you look at it, like by the end of 10 years, you have already bumped your balance up to $20,000. You've almost gained a year's salary in 10 years, and all you've put into that is $9,000 or $9,600.
And this is excluding. This is not even work that you have to do. This is excluding your personal investing that you do on your own time. This is just an automatic thing that happens, while you're not paying attention, as long as you're staying with whatever company, some people who stay years with like a driving company like UPS or something like that.
Right. So what I did here is after 25 years. So let's say you're making, if you're making $24,000 a year for 25 years, I'm sorry, man. God help you.
That sucks.
Hopefully you have some income growth over time. Well, but not for 25 years. You haven't. I mean, making $24K, like I made less than that my first job out of college. But I was making more than that very soon thereafter.
Now, pause. If you are self-employed, that's not bad. That's not bad.
Right.
Yeah. If you are employed, then that's like a long dragged out scale of poverty almost, if that's how much you're making. But if you are self-employed, then that's actually not that bad. You can write a lot of things off. Just wanted to let you guys know.
No, exactly. Yeah, you could. Yeah, you get. There's a whole lot of stuff that you get to just you get to take out of your normal expenses that those of us who are working for an employer do not get to do.
A lot of that money comes back.
Yeah, that's right. So, but if you look at it, so over the course of 25 years, you have made over 2 years additional salary just by having this little bit taken out every month and your employer matching it. And if you think about it from the standpoint of like you've only put less than half of that in, so at the end of this thing, 25 years, you've put $24,000 into this, you have made $28,000 in just returns. And the crazy part about that is only 4,000 of that is actual return on the investment. The other 24,000 is just the bam immediate 100% return that your employer gives you by matching. All right. So just one more thing. So if let's say you make six figures, right? $217,000 at the end of 25 years, just from like stashing your little, what is this, $300 a month in your 401k. And then, so now we're going to get into the other part, which is the investment strategy that I like to employ. So if you are doing your own investments, you're going off to the side and you're doing, you're buying Tesla, or you're buying stock in Apple, or whatever the case may be, Amazon. Yeah, you name it. They're
gonna rule the world, right?
Oh, they do, don't they already? I don't know. But it's kind of like that. Yeah. So I just made like a generic, let's just say you pick ABC company and their stock price is $50. Let me zoom in on this a little bit so you can see a little bit better what.
And before we completely move away from it, so if you get to choose, what's being invested in,
right,
through your employer, could that potentially increase your return on investment? Like if you're like, okay, these are doing well, these bonds are doing better than, because I noticed that Acorns, when I got rid of Acorns, I just went in there and saw what they were investing in and said, okay, this is good, but this is horrible. I don't know why they put my money here. Is it the same? right? I don't know why the hell they did, but it's the same thing. You get that same kind of potential growth.
Yeah, okay. And what you can do is you can, like I said, you can adjust as you go. So like you may be in a period, you may see something in the market where it's like, okay, look, right now, I'm not really interested in the international markets, the emerging markets. I want to pull back, and I want to have, and I feel like maybe the stock market is a little over leveraged, and we might want to be more in some more conservative stuff right now, because I think that we're entering into a financial difficulty space where like we might see a retrace of, 5, 10, 15% in the NASDAQ, S&P 500 or the Dow, right? Which not very many people know this, but the Dow Jones Industrial Average is like one of the stupidest ways to look at like how the economy is going or how the market is. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is 30 companies. 30 companies make up the Dow Jones Industrial Average. At least the S&P 500 is 500 companies. And then you got the Russell. They have like a 2K and 1K, and
30 companies is not a good view of what's going on.
No, it's not. And
like,
it's very
like
weird how they choose who's in there and who's not. It's kind of it's a little bit of a snakes game. Like
they're watching their interests, really.
The Dow, the Dow's down 500 points as investors, and that's the other thing. You'll see CNBC will come up with some of the stupidest headlines. They're like, the Dow Jones Industrial Average drops 200 points as investors, blah blah blah. Whatever the thing is, they create this narrative like the thing that they said after the word "as" or "as investors," whatever that is the cause of why the number's down, and it's not. It's like, no, the number's down because Exxon is down 4%, and it's one of the 30 companies,
right?
Like, because they'll be saying something like that, and it's like, yeah, well, the Nvidia explosion has nothing to do with the Dow Jones Industrial Average because it's not even in there. So don't give me this nonsense. Like, anyway, it's very silly. Okay. So back to the investment strategy here. So what I did is I said, okay, let's assume I have a ABC company, and right now it's $50 a share, but I think it's going to go to $100 a share, and I have about $10,000 that I want to invest in this. So if I want to do that, and I'm just like, all right, let me just go dump $10,000 into this. Oh shit, hang on. I want to dump $10,000 into this stock. Okay, so I dropped 10K into it. Well, what happens if it goes down to, so like what I have here is I drew up this little spreadsheet where, it starts off at 50, goes to 45, then it goes to 40, then it goes to 35, then it goes to 30, then it goes to 25. Well, your $10,000, when it gets to about here, it's only worth $5,000 now. And how are your emotions at that point? And are you looking to pull the plug right before it starts going back up again? So what I do, and I'm not saying like you have to do it this way, but I've always been a little more conservative when it comes to this sort of thing anyway, at heart. Like, that's just the way I roll. So I'm just offering this as an option for people to like consider. So you have your $10,000 and you like where it is. You think it's going to 100, but maybe you've looked at it and you've kind of looked at some charts and you've seen that you actually think that it might be like possible that it could go down to $35 a share. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to say, all right, let's bite off a little piece at $50. Let me get my foot in the water. So I'm going to put a quarter of that $10,000, $2,500, buy myself 50 shares at $50 a share. Well, now if it goes down to 45, I'm like, okay, I kind of expected this. I'm kind of targeting 35 as my cost basis. So I'm going to maybe take my next nibble at 40, because what if I'm wrong and it goes up from 40, or it doesn't even get to 40, whatever. Well, it does get down to 40, right? So now I buy another 62 and a quarter shares at $40 a share. Well, now my cost basis is down to $44 a share. So even though it's at $40, I'm not as down as if I had bought all $5,000 at $50 a share, right? I'm not down $10 a share. I'm only down $4.44.
I've only been recently learning about this right here. This was something that, because I was one of those people, I'd be like, oh man, my investment went all the way down, and I just panic and pull the money all the way out.
Right.
And now what I've started noticing is that if I just put in what you said, like an incremental amount
Mm-hmm.
where I'm at, right? Like with Amazon is a good example for me because I actually did that with Amazon. I just put a little tiny bit in. I didn't want a whole share. So I just, put a little bit in, and then it dropped and dropped and dropped. And then I bought a whole share, and it brought everything down. So now like the average cost for me is a lot lower than had I just bought it all in the beginning, when it was right where it was at.
And
so
then you
now
got to deal with your emotions at that point of like, do I trust my investment, or am I just like, nah, screw this, I'm going to cut bait? And the other thing too is, I this is the case for me and most people that you talk to about this. It's the same. It's different once you have money in it. Like you can watch it all day, you can chart it all day, you can make your predictions, and even like the people who like they do their little test trading with fake money on some of it's
not the same.
It ain't the same. I'm telling you, it can train you on like the mathematics and maybe the formulas and the mechanics of it, but it can't train this.
That red number makes you think a certain way,
right? Your mind and your emotions when your money starts moving. And that's in the positive direction too. Like sometimes it's tempting. Like, damn, I'm up 20%. Do I want to just take my money out now? What if I lose this little gain that I got? I did that a couple of years ago with I bought some Tesla options. I could have made like 30 grand in a week. I made 9. But it was like I still was like I was kicking myself because I pulled the plug early. I had my plan. And I tapped out early on my plan because I didn't trust my plan.
I did that with some carnival options. Actually, the same thing happened. I was in the gym and I looked and I was like, and I put it down and something told me, I was listening to Crypto Wendy O, right? And every time she always says, always take profits, remember to take profits. And I looked at it and I put the phone down and I was like, should I take the profit? I was like, nah, it's going to go up. And then it dropped the next day. And I took profits that day. And I was glad that I did because my projection was completely wrong. And it dropped so low that it would have obliterated my option. So I'm lucky that I got what I got. But
and options are a whole different ball game. They're not like, you can buy Amazon today and you can sell it 10 years from now. And you're still, even if you lose, you're not going to lose 100% of it. With options, depending on where your expiration date is, you can lose all your money in a day. Or in a week.
And then when it starts to get good, your contract has decayed so much that now you're not even making real profit.
Right. No, the best thing that can happen is you get like, you buy it and then it's like 2 months out, and within like 10 days, it just rockets up so that the alpha is so high that it's just like, it's crushing, and you end up like, where now your stuff that you bought at $1 is like $14, and you're better off just taking it then, because the chances, like you said, that decay as you get closer and closer to expiration, what people are betting on is like, well, I'm going to buy this for 14 because I think I can sell it for 100 if it goes crazy from here.
Right.
But if it don't go crazy from there, it's going to peter out, and you're going to start having that time decay. But all right, so let's get back to this because I want to get into like how we start to exit this too. So so here you are. So we made our second purchase. Our cost basis is 44.44. Now it drops again. It's at 35. I buy another 2,500 shares. I'm at 71 shares then. So my total average. So I actually did this. Like I went through and took like. So this is just so you see. Like I'm taking the total of our purchases and the total shares, and that's how I'm getting it. So this is your average cost basis. So we're still around $5 more than what the current price is at this point. Still not bad. Better than being $15 off because we bought it at 50, right? Then we finally buy at 30, our final push. And so we get our average down to 37.42. Now, let's just say we wanted to be a little bit more disciplined with it, and we think like, okay, no, I think it might go down to $25. Well, now we can get our cost basis all the way down to 35.22. So we're right at where we want to be. Now we're still $10 over where the current price is at that point, and then we've got to wait through all of this, right? But look what happens. So now let's say we did this and we have our, let's see, what is that, 283 shares, almost 284 for our $10,000. Well, then when we get to, if it does start coming back up and it gets back to where we made our first purchase, right? So now we can actually look at exiting some of this at the $50 mark. Well, I'm selling 71 shares at that $50 mark. I only bought 50 at the $50 mark. So I'm already making $1,000 on that first purchase. Then if it keeps going up and my thesis is right and it goes all the way up to 100, I can keep exiting. But what you can do is, what this does too is this allows you at every step along the way to continue to reevaluate and see if you got something wrong, and to see if you maybe need to adjust. Maybe I need to wait to 25 because it's dropping like a rock. And maybe I want to start exiting sooner because now I don't feel as confident about that 100. Maybe some new news came in. Maybe they made an acquisition that they're going to have to pour a bunch of money in. They absorb some other company's debt or something. You got to keep reevaluating these things and see if there's anything that has changed the story that you were looking at when you first got into it, and see if it makes sense for you. So then, as you get into it, so if your thesis is right and you continue along this path, when it's all said and done, your $10,000, now you've turned it into $22,000. And if you had done the same thing, if you had dropped 10 grand right here, and then you suffered through all this, and then it got to here and you still were right, you'd only have 20 grand.
Yeah.
So you actually made more money this way, and you gave yourself a lot more little off ramps and on ramps to.
And there was less emotions involved as well, because if you have to weather the storm, which is, I learned that with Ethereum. When it was low, I put a lot in, but then it dropped. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And it was the low I thought was actually a high, and
Right.
Bro, I had sat through that for a long time. I just was so stubborn. I was like, I'm not losing this money, so I don't care how low it's going to get. I'm just going to leave it there. And I ignored it, and it eventually came back. But I learned a really valuable lesson right there.
Yeah. So, I mean, essentially what we're getting at here is, unless you really feel like you can pick the bottom, which we cannot.
Yeah.
It's a fool's errand. That is hubris. I'm here to tell you, you cannot pick the bottom and pick the top. What you need to do is recognize that you can't do those things, and approach the market accordingly with a little bit of respect for what the market is capable of. Because I mean, there's probably plenty of stories where people just aped into something and it shot up, and then they doubled their money in 2 days or something like that. It happens. I'm not going to say it doesn't, but the chances of that sort of thing happening consistently and over a long period of time are much less likely than I think what you get from doing something like this, where you
work a little bit more than the chances of being drafted.
Right, exactly. But you do things this way, and you enter methodically and you exit methodically. So the other thing I wanted to say too is, so let's just go on the flip side of this, which is to say, okay, well, what if I'm doing this and I'm buying these incremental things, right? And it never goes down. All right, well, I bought 2,500 and I made 2,500. Or wherever along this path I sell it, it's whatever I sold it for. Like if I sell it, like I could sell at $2,000 worth of it, 25 shares at $80, and then sell another 25 shares at $100, and I maybe didn't double my money. I still made $2,000.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, I would say definitely stay in the position. Don't jump all the way out of the position to take maximum profits, but take profits along the ride up, because it could definitely go back down. It could, at any second it could go bloop.
Yeah, but, so the emotional piece of it is, it goes something like this, right? Like, so you buy in and then it starts going down, Now you're holding this bag, and that bag is getting smaller and smaller, but it somehow is getting heavier because it hurts. um, it's like this shrinking. It's turning. It went from a bag of gold to a bag of lead, or I don't know which one's heavier. Shit, actually now I don't know. Like I think gold might be heavier than lead, but anyway,
feathers, bag of feathers.
Feathers, yeah. Like it's this bag is well, it's somehow getting heavier, but it's less valuable. Is what I'm trying to get at. Like it was a bag of cash, and now it's like a bag of nickels. That's kind of how, that's a better way. It's a bag of $100 bills, and then it turns into a bag of nickels. So it's way heavier, but it's smaller and it's worth less. The point is, it's causing you pain and suffering, and so you have to deal with those emotions. But on the flip side of it is like what you were talking about. As you start to figure out your exit strategy, you've got to factor in those emotions of like, okay, am I going to get nervous and not trust my thesis and get out too early and miss out on some gains? But is it worth it? Because if I don't exit early and it's at, let's say it goes up to 120, and I'm like getting greedy and I want to wait to 150, and it never gets there, and I didn't sell at 120, now it's back down to 90. Now it's back down to 80. Now it's back down to 70. Then your temptation is to hold on to it as long as possible because you're still waiting for it to get back to that 120 that you missed out on. Because you hold it's weird how our memory and how that FOMO that's on both sides, and then that fear, uncertainty, and doubt, the FUD comes in too. So you have like all of these different emotions that if you go into it with a more methodical approach and with a plan, and you trust that plan. And the other thing is too, like at every step along the way, yes, you can do your charting and all that kind of stuff. But as we have seen many times, charts are great as long as the story doesn't change. Well, as soon as the story changes, your charts don't mean anything, because if a company just went pink sheets, went bankrupt, you know what I mean? Like it don't matter what your chart says.
That happened a month ago. I put just some extra cash into a company, did not check the news, did not look up the company, just looked at the chart, and I was like, oh, the chart looks really good.
Yeah.
And the company shut down overnight.
Yeah.
I looked at the news, and they had been talking about it, obviously, but it wasn't reflecting in the chart until that very moment. People were probably holding out, but either way, man, it changes really fast.
Yeah. I'll tell you a little story about one that we had. So back in the I won't say early 2000s, but it was around the financial crisis, the 08-09 crisis, right? The paper industry was in real trouble because as the economy shrunk, well, now people aren't shipping stuff in cardboard boxes, and so there's less paper demand, and so you had some plants shutting down, those sorts of things. Yeah. Well, around that same time, up in the Northeast, some representative had gotten this pork project earmarked into a bill where they were giving 50 cents per gallon for biofuel. Well, do you know what the paper industry does a lot of? They burn the dissolved pulp that is part of the cooking process. They burn it off and they reclaim that. Like it makes steam. It basically is a fuel source for them. And so all they had to do was they had to start pumping a little bit of diesel into their recovery boilers to show that they were replacing this diesel, that they weren't burning 100% diesel, that they were replacing. Dude, it's like hundreds of thousands of gallons a day of this fuel that they're burning. There was one particular company that the first quarter that they did this, they reported an extra $230 million in earnings off of a government kickback. Now, they killed that thing within a couple of years, but while it was there, it was one of those things where, again, like it looks like the paper industry is going into the shitter. So don't, stay away from it. But if you know this little nugget of news, you know that they're all about to go moon.
Yeah.
So it's wild how that kind of stuff happens.
The
It can happen
in
both
the
ways.
chat, I don't know if you had seen in the Men of Order chat where I was talking about the chocolatier in my neighborhood who owns a shop in the neighborhood, and he showed me the price of cocoa beans.
Yeah.
And for 24 years, just stagnant growth, and then several 100% in 1 year. In 1 year, because farmers withheld. And that's news. News can definitely change your life. But don't get one thing that I definitely want to stress is, especially if you're coming at this with not as much funds, like let's say you got just $1,000, don't put all of that into one position or one stock with hopes of hitting it big or hopes of turning this into your big gold mine.
Right.
You should spread it across several different types of stocks, several different types of investments, because any one of those can go under, but any one of those can have a strong growth rate. And I think having a position in it so you can watch it is better than not having a position there, having it all in one thing, and you're watching something else grow, but you got no money to throw at it. And so you're just like,
because that'll play with your emotions too. Should I sell what I have and go buy that? And it's like changing lanes in traffic. You always end up in the wrong lane, right?
Exactly. You sell what you have, and then the next thing you know, that lane starts moving fast again, and you're in a slow lane, and that's how it always happens that way. And you have the chances of being drafted for it to go the other way for most people, and that's really how I see it. So it's methodical approaches. I like what you were talking about. Anything else?
No, that's it. That's all I got, man.
That's good, man. I appreciated that. I even got a little bit of nuggets from that I can pass on to others. I mean, I'm self-employed, but still, like the remembering how my position can strengthen by not jumping all the way into the deep end right when I see something I love. That's it's always good to remember that. And I really appreciated everything that you brought to the table today. So y'all, thank Chad. You know what I'm saying? If we didn't have this guy, then we'd all be going broke in crypto.
Everybody, y'all go do your things. Buy your
HJ
meme stocks. Buy your meme stocks. I can't hate. Look, I can't argue with like the AOC thing is going crazy. So like I got that boat, but it's all right. And that's the other thing. Like a friend of mine once told me, he's like, never lament missing a boat. There's always another boat coming.
That's right.
Like you can go back throughout history. There are tons of different opportunities that have come and gone and come back again and gone again. Like if you missed on this, you'll catch the next. You can catch the next thing.
I think when it comes to money, I definitely think that there's always going to be an opportunity because the rich, they always they got to wash their money at some point, and they got to drop the price so their homies can get in at some point. And so whenever they are ready to shake things up so that they can take advantage of it, so can you. That's
don't try to fight the sharks. Just try to be one of those little
bait fish
that eats that cleans their teeth for them.
Underneath their tummy.
Look, the sharks protect those fish.
Hey.
They don't hurt them. They're like, I appreciate you cleaning my teeth. It's all good. We got a nice little symbiotic relationship here.
Exactly.
So just like let the sharks do their thing, monitor their activity, and just kind of try to ride the coattails a little bit.
Exactly. We pump their bags, they carry ours. That's
right.
That's how that works.
Right. Facts.
Well, all right, y'all. Thanks for sticking with us, and we appreciate your time and attention. If you made it this far, like, share, and subscribe. And as always, stay strong. You know what I'm saying? Much love, y'all. Be good with your money. And peace.
Peace, y'all.